Tell
Yes.
us a little bit about, what you were doing before you wrote the book and what your life was like, before you were an author and
Before
a
I was an
model and
author
yeah.
and a model, hmm. Well, I did a lot. Before I was diagnosed, okay. So before I was diagnosed, I had three small children. They are today now 19, 20, and 21 years old.
Wow.
So they were all in the same school, preschool all the way up through high school together. And during that time frame, my job was being a mom and taking care of the house while Robert was on the road traveling and building his career. And Monday through Thursday, he would be on an airplane in another state working while I was home with three small children. So I started to have more symptoms and I would get very agitated and very, I don't want to call it angry, but like the slightest sounds of like yelling and screaming from the children were really affecting me, and I didn't understand what was going on because I didn't know I had multiple sclerosis when the symptoms were happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, I got to start doing something. Like, I'm going to volunteer at school. So, with my art background, being a major in fine arts, I started teaching in the classrooms and teaching the kids how to draw and paint and working with their local teacher that was an artist herself. And then the best part ended up being I drew large murals in the school for St. Edward's Church. So there's a giant mural of St. Michael, and then there's another large mural of Jesus with the lambs. And then one of my very special murals that I painted was Mother Mary and Jesus. And painting brought joy to me, and it relaxed me during those troubled times of living with MS and not knowing I actually had it. I would start to notice that tremors were happening, and by the end of the day, I would call it the 3 o'clock bewitching hour. And that was when the kids got out of school, and I had been at school with them all day working and hearing children, although I was like ecstatic that I was being able to paint. That was one of my dreams. I always wanted to paint murals for a cause or somewhere in the world. So that brought great joy to me, which kind of relaxed me during the day with the music in my ears and then getting home and then trying to be that mom of cooking dinner and getting all three of them ready for the next day and doing homework was when I started to notice that things were starting to really get worse. And I would find myself barely getting through dinner. And I would get them prepped and ready for their next day. And I would go to my room and physically and mentally collapse. And I would find myself crying and I didn't know why. I'd find myself being upset and I wasn't sure why. I felt a lot of anxiety and stress. So those are the early years of leaving my career that I loved, becoming a mom.
What was your career like beforehand?
Before becoming a mom,
Yeah.
my career was so fun. So when I first got out of school, I wanted to be the greatest artist ever, but I had to pay the bills and to talk about that in the book. And I started working in retail, of course, and I actually was able to use my design work while I was in the stores working as a manager because we were always doing floor moves. So I worked for several different companies and then I started working for Victoria's Secret and that was incredible. So I worked for them for 7 years and five different locations of being transferred around and being a store manager to district sales manager, and it really brought me to life and to be comfortable around people and talking. And I loved selling product. Like I could sell you almost anything. And I loved it. It was great, and got to travel, and I felt alive. But during that time also, I was experiencing early symptoms of MS, and I wasn't sure what was going on with me. Like, why could this be happening? I'm so young. I can't believe this is actually happening to me. And there was no proof. So then going back to leaving my career, which was a great career. We were married 8 years before I became a mother. And then boom, 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 3 kids. And until the last 20 years, that was my life. And then it's like, what am I going to do now? And it was more of focus on me and become more of an advocate and become a voice for the disease I'm living with, and to move forward. And wrote my book for therapy, and now my book is helping people be more free about it's okay to acknowledge that we have a disease. No one should ever be ashamed to have anything wrong with them.
Do you think about the future in terms of like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Like, how do you plan out future stuff, or like how do you think about the near future in terms of what you'll be doing?
What I want to do versus career or disease happening?
I mean, just sort of like, how does that play into your future plans? Like, how are you able to like think about what you're going to be doing in the
Moving
future?
forward.
Yeah.
Well, master plan is this book reaching so many more people in the world, not just with MS, basically everybody that deals with everyday life and stresses, that it's okay. And to come up with my clothing line that's mentioned in the book. My first drawing is in there, of a comfortable clothing line that on those tough days, whether you have MS or anything else and you just want to cuddle up with a cup of coffee and just chill around, it could be comfortable to leave the house or just to stay in. That is actually in the works right now. And then I want to start touring and speaking and really bringing that entire society along with the society of anyone and helping them move forward and finding their path, because I worked through such a journey of just trying to find me. And when I say that, it wasn't, the young child, the young adult, the wife, the mother. Like, who is me? Who am I? I'm Dawn-Marie, and I have a lot to offer. And I want to be able to teach that to others, to actually embrace themselves every day and to bring community together and accept what it is, not for the disease, but for what we have to tell and to continue to move forward.
Can you talk briefly about, like, I feel like sometimes when people have a disease, it's almost like the disease encompasses their entire body, personality, everything is that disease. You seem like you've done a really great job of someone who's living with this disease, and it's like they're almost separate. It's like you're you and all the stuff you do, and you also have this disease.
Yes.
But it's not like it hasn't, paralyzed you from doing anything else. Like how do you sort of juggle that? How do you manage to make that so successful?
I truly believe it's because I completely exposed myself when I started my Instagram, telling my story and not being ashamed of it and really being honest. I'm an open book. If you really want to talk to me and sit down and have a conversation, you never know what's going to come out of my mouth. I'm probably going to give you 1,000% of what I'm going to say, or I might hold back. But I feel that we really just need to be ourselves and living life. And when I was finally diagnosed, like I said, it was a relief of, I'm not crazy. there's really something wrong with me. And then once you actually realize what's wrong with you and people being diagnosed with anything, instead of focusing on the disease, which we need to do, focus on you. Who am I? This disease is not going to take over and control me. I am going to continue to live my life and tell my story the best way I can. I may end up in a wheelchair from a year from now because the disease is growing, but that's not going to stop me. I will continue to tell my story. And if I can't speak, I'll write it. If I can't travel, I'll have video conferences. I will talk to you wherever you are in the world. I will continue this journey for the rest of my life until we find a cure. And then when we do find a cure, I'm going to be there to continue to help the young ones that are being diagnosed, because the youngest diagnosis today was 4 years old. There are young 20-year-olds and 22-year-old women that are being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and they're afraid of having children. And my book actually helped them get through those fears of being honest. But it's not just me. It's not just the female side of it. It's also the male. What does the male do when your loved one is struggling?
Yeah,
It's hard.
What has that been like for
Robert?
Robert? Yeah.
It's been really hard on Robert. Robert is a fixer of broken things. He's built companies. He's powerful. He knows how to work with people. He loves being out there in the force. He's incredible. He's a spirit to be reckoned with. And this disease came at him harder than it did me, even though I had been living with it, because he couldn't fix me. And that's okay. I'm not looking to be fixed. I'm looking for a cure. And those are two different things, because this disease made me who I am today. It made me who I was before I even knew the disease, because I'm always stubborn and moving forward. I'm really stubborn. When you tell me I can't, I tell you I will. And Robert has always had to deal with that over 30 years.
Where are they with the cure, or?
There's no cure in sight right now. There are new drugs out there that are really helping. They're called interferons, but they're not stopping the disease from growing. That is the pharmaceutical side of the story that I normally don't talk about. That's for them to figure out. I'm here to help the psychological side of the story. How do we continue to move forward? I'm not the advocate for the drug. I am the advocate for the human soul and spirit of the body dealing with the everyday pain.
Yeah. Wow. Do you want to talk about the old modeling career, or
It's actually not old.
any of that?
It was a new
Current,
modeling career.
new modeling career?
I had never modeled in my life. I'm 5'2", right? I mean, you see me without the heels. I'm short, 5'2", not a model. Always wanted to be as a little kid, like every little girl out there. And I mean, I've always taken pictures and done stuff as like family and just being silly. And then when I started my Instagram on September 17th, 2017, I'm like, how do I get this story across? So my daughter started taking pictures of me, working out, doing stuff, and I would use the photos to tell a story. And then I was discovered by a local photographer, and he taught me how to actually model, how to turn, how to move, how to look into the camera, you know, be that silly person to the outfit I was modeling. And then I started working with local shops and they would give me the clothing, I would model it, post it, tag them, and then it just became second nature to me. And I loved it. I felt alive. And today I still model when I can in between everything. Clothing companies just send me whatever they want, and I do the modeling, and I've done bathing suits, lingerie, fashion, shoes, you name it, I've done it. And I started modeling at 49 years old, and today I'm 53. So never give up on your dreams, because you never know when the opportunity is going to come by your way. And that's another thing with living with the disease. Never say I can't do it today. Anything. Try. And if you can't do it today, do it tomorrow. But never give up on anything in life.
I think, bless you.
God bless you.
I think that's pretty good for this location.
Yeah.
Anything else you think of
Uh-huh.
that we want to?
No, I think I talked about advocacy. I talked about modeling. I did say lingerie, clothing. 49.
Robert, yeah.
Talked about Robert. You can ask me questions about how the kids handled it.
Okay.
Or we can do that in another.
That's over here.
Okay.
Yeah, talk to me about how your kids handled when you got diagnosed and how they responded and how it's affected them.
So let me take you back 2 years before the diagnosis. So in 2011, I had a hysterectomy. And I wasn't healing properly the way that I was supposed to be healing. And things were getting worse. And I was tripping constantly and being in extreme pain. But the doctors kept telling me, this shouldn't be affecting you. You should have been healed by now and moving on. And that took over a year. And within that year, I found out I had to go in and have tumors removed from my breasts. They were all benign, and they were the ones that were growing from my uterus. And once that home was gone, they just found a new home. And today I still continue to struggle with that, another autoimmune disease. And after having my double mastectomy, my oldest son said to me, so Mom, did you actually take them off because of Angelina Jolie? And I'm like, no, I didn't. And they were so young and they didn't understand. And, you know, they were like, okay. And we're sitting at the dinner table trying to explain it. Well, during that surgery healing, I had a very difficult time. I was stubborn, trying to be a mom, trying to get through it. I can deal with this, going through the reconstruction, and I did too much and tore my stitches. And then I got a staph infection. And then my son was learning how to drive, and he wanted to go to the movie theater. So this is where chaos really hits, and your children have to really understand. Robbie was learning how to drive. I wasn't supposed to be in the car. I was on heavy medications, Levaquin, 1,000 milligrams a day, 4 times a day. I stepped out of the car and I lost feeling in both legs and fell into a fire hydrant drain. Sliced my left ankle wide open. Robbie ran off as a 16-year-old into the movie theater. I had nothing in my car. Always remember to have emergency supplies in your car. If I can tell anyone something about a car, that would be it. I didn't have anything. Called Robert crying. I was in pain. Finally got home. My neighbor came over, saw my foot. She's a doctor. She's like, you need stitches. We got to clean this out and get you to the ER. Robert and my youngest brought me to the ER. They cleaned it out. They decided not to put me on any medication because I was already on a very strong dose of medication. And then Joseph said, Mommy, why are you always so sick? This is when I knew we had to sit down with the kids and really tell them what was going on. And that's difficult being a mom, and difficult watching your children look at you like, why are you always so sick, Mom? And what's going on? So if I can say anything to a mother of a father, be honest up front. Never hide anything from your children. Just tell them the facts, because they understand more than you actually expect them to understand. With that being said, I fell into a really bad infection with MRSA, and I was hospitalized and quarantined for a week, and almost lost my leg and almost died. Coming out of that, I was home, and then I became completely paralyzed. That's when the doctors were finally like, something's going on with you, and we need to start doing bone density and cancer tests and brain MRIs and spinal taps. And then finally in 2012, Dr. Chowan saved my life and diagnosed me.
So, like, how did the kids respond to this? What was their reaction? How did they behave?
It was hard at first. They thought I was going to die. When I was in the hospital and being quarantined, and I wasn't allowed to see anybody except for the nurses coming in with their masks and everything, and the doctors, they really thought I was going to die, and I thought I was going to die. And I thought, what am I leaving behind? Unanswered questions. And I couldn't do that. And I fought every day with the doctors to try something new to keep moving forward. And with that being said, as I told you earlier, I'm extremely stubborn. I wasn't taking no anymore. If I wanted a test done because of research I did, I enforced that I wanted it done, and I wanted my answers. And Dr. Chowan was that doctor. And when we finally got the diagnosis and we read that I could be completely paralyzed and not regain my strength, we told the kids. They understood, but not really. Joseph really didn't understand. Simone's a mother. She's very caring. She was by my side every step of the way. Robbie is our brainiac, amazing child, researched everything he could about MS. And would come to me and say, Mom, let's do this. You can try this. So being completely honest with your family and your friends, and being honest with your own self and your own truth, is key to any disease and key to life and raising a family. And I had to learn that because I thought hiding it from them was better, and it's not. But it does force your children to grow up faster. So that's kind of like a balance thing. Which one do you do? Give them 1,000% of the truth? Give them 50%? Like, where is the line? And I don't think there actually is a line. I think it's within your husband, yourself, and your children, and how you've always had the household. But today, all three of them are moving forward, and they don't ever take no for an answer.